It was a process of really learning how to do things with excellence,
Yeah.
buying into what do we really want to accomplish. And what you're seeing this year has really been what the vision has been for the past two.
Yep.
And it's like, finally, this is who we are.
Hey guys, welcome to the CA podcast. I'm Chad, and I'm sitting here with Vinny.
What's up, everybody?
What's up? So, have you ever in your life served someone else's vision?
You know my whole life story. That was like the weirdest intro for you.
Yeah. I just, because they don't maybe know you.
Yeah, they don't. Nobody knows. So I've definitely sat under a lot of leadership and learned how to follow someone else's vision.
Right.
And for me, I think it's vital to buy into someone else's vision that you're under.
Right.
Because otherwise it creates strife and turmoil.
Right.
And so I think we're going to dive in a little bit deep today when it comes to what it means to really do that in places that you don't really understand where you're going.
Yeah. And I think, so the common misconception, and this is just something through conversation and through observation, but so a lot of people feel like, if you buy into something, you have pretty much have to kill everything, like personal ambitions. Right. And while that can be true for a season, right?
Yeah.
Like when we were here at Culture Architects, I think I didn't do anything but Culture Architects for about a year. Right. Which, if you know me, is very difficult, but it just so happened that that's what I was able to do. I'll just do this. Really didn't do much else outside of here. So though through that, now I'm very much active in all kinds of other stuff, right? Doing kind of fulfilling my dreams and visions and things that I want to do personally, and helping other people in different things, but then also still serving the vision here, fully bought in. Right. So for us, I think, we can break down personally, but so where have you been able to, buy into something, and then when did you feel the shift that you could kind of start to work on your own stuff or work on other stuff? But also, how did you maintain the being fully bought in while working on other stuff? Right. So I think one of my traits is that I'm super loyal to whoever I'm under. Right. Sure. So whether it's a church, whether it's my company that I'm working for, or whatever, I'm super loyal. And that's just kind of one of the things that I've been instilled since I was younger. Yeah. So really buying in for me is building trust with whoever's over me, right? Yeah. So in this situation at Culture Architects, it was really a learning curve. And I was here longer than you. Yeah. So it took me a year as well to kind of learn and to gain that trust, to gain that, loyalty with Lance and his wife and the team here, because we were coming in out of nowhere, Sure. And it's like it was hard to do that. Now in other circumstances, it was a little easier because I was underneath a pastor, right? Yeah, so it's a little bit easier, to gain that trust and to feel comfortable in that environment is way easier than coming in and you're like, oh, we've been friends. Now you're my boss, and I have to fall in line. So it was a little bit tricky in that regard, but as well as it took me a year to kind of figure out things, get things in line, and then we started to bring in other people into the vision that was started here. And so I've learned that my role here is second chair. Sure. And there's a book out by Bonham and Patterson as the two authors, called Leading from the Second Chair. Yeah. Excellent book. It's a ministry book, but it taught me so much in gaining perspective on buying into the vision, buying into what the pastor wants, and how you can still be a leader from the second chair. Yeah. And I had to learn that here differently because we have Lance is our boss, director, president, whatever you want to call it. But me as a manager, over everybody else, it's been an interesting dynamic to finally figure out, okay, well, when Lance isn't here, I'm running the show. And when he is here, I'm still running the show,
but he's just casting the vision, casting the things on top of that, and it's learning how to, do all of that. So that took some time, and now we've gained people, and now I'm able to also help out at a church and be the connections pastor there. So again, leading from a different chair.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like you're figuring out how to run things here. And then I think the thing that we went through too a lot was like we were getting bricks in place, and like there's just things that we were doing here where it was like we couldn't just be focusing on other things and building here, because like you look at how much we've built over the time here, how much we've torn down, how much we've changed. I mean, if you've been watching for a while, like like it is pretty crazy, like the amount of things we went through, and we did lives here, and we did this, and we did prayer, and then we did this, and it was like we were just doing so much. And like if you think about it, if we were detached and we weren't fully bought in, what took us a year may have taken us 2 years, 3 years, because we were, I mean, every show it would end or live thing, and we would just sit there and talk about it for 4 hours.
Yeah, we would like completely critical of everything. And it was a process of really learning how to do things with excellence.
Yeah.
And buying into what do we really want to accomplish, and what you're seeing this year has really been what the vision has been for the past 2, and it's like finally we've come to whether it was the sets, whether it was the way we're communicating now, the way we're talking through the podcasts and everything. This is who we are.
Yeah.
And this is what we were trying to build towards.
So long.
Right? Yeah. And it was like we had this vision so long ago. It's and it's like we all bought into it, and we were all like, man, that's gonna be so great. And then it was the process of, well, that doesn't look like what our vision is. Right. And like we had to learn to kind of reevaluate, reassess it, and go, you know what? That isn't really what we were going for.
Right.
But like, hey, let's see how this builds. Right. Yeah. And that was like with the whole prayer thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like we had so many different ideas for that.
So many.
Right. And it was like where it landed is where it needed to land.
Yeah.
Right. It ended onto a Tuesday encouragement show, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's so good. And we're doing prayer in there. We're doing but we're in the it's a lot deeper than our conversations here are just more like, hey, this is what we're doing, so it's, to me, it's like when we all figured out like and bought, it's like you can see the excellence coming through.
Yeah, and I think because even like with that, and just to dive a little bit deeper into that, the original vision, because talking about buying in, was a business prayer thing, and so we were all trying to digest it, and because we were like, well, we don't understand what that would look like, and we didn't have the viewership, and then
it was so niche. It was like this little group of people.
Yeah, it was so small, and then because we even saw that with the CA podcast for some time, but specifically with that, so Brian started to try to kind of dive into that, and then because we're all bought in, and then it was like, okay, well, then we started throwing ideas at the wall, and throwing ideas at the wall, and it was basically just literally just spaghetti at the wall all the time. What if we change this? Well, what if we had a co-host? Well, what if we do this? And then we built a new set here, which was the old set now, the older set, I guess, before this, with the TVs on the wall and the desks. And then we were like, well, what if we ran an ad where we were like, do you want prayer and joy?
Right.
And then that's what sparked viewership.
Right.
So then we started like leaning into that. And then Lance felt like we were supposed to go a different direction, because we started having talks for, it was like almost a month where it was like, well, people are just dropping out. They do a prayer request and then they drop out. Like there's no like long-term viewership. It's just almost kind of like they watch for their 5 minutes and then they leave. So we're like, well, what can we do? And it's like, well, what if we do like just an encouraging message? What if we do almost a Bible study, but we talk about what's going on? Like we talk about, we dive deeper into it, but we talk with people about it.
Right.
Well, so then that develops over, say, 30, 40 episodes, right? Well, then we realize it's like, well, we're not having like the great live viewership, right? Well, we're having a good viewership, because by the end of the week, like we have good viewership,
right?
But the live aspect just wasn't working. So then while Lance was out, we experimented with...
We tried something new.
Yeah, so we tried something new, but it was in line with the vision.
Right.
It was in line with what we were trying to accomplish with it, because like I said, we all were aware of what he wanted to accomplish.
Right.
So, okay, what if we try it this way? Well, we did it, and it had a good effect. Like it had...
tripled viewership.
And it tripled viewership like early on. And so, because the cool thing is like, when you do we found this out, but like when you do that specifically live, people maybe feel like they miss out, so that they don't watch because it was a live. So now it's like, oh, like it's an episode. It's like this. And so, but it's the same package. It's just a different way. So, and it's kind of saying like it started out from something that is literally the polar opposite of what it is now.
Completely.
But the vision behind it was what we were trying to accomplish. So
there's always been, we want to be a place where we encourage people to grow in their lives, in their businesses, and in their walk with God.
Yeah.
Right. That's been like the
thing.
That's been the thing for the Tuesday show. Right. For this show, it's we want to be a place where we build the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right. And how do we build the kingdom of God? Through our lives, through everyday things. And that's kind of what we talk about on this. And you can see like the vision that was cast, right? And then being able to attach yourself to that. Right. And walk that out and realizing that it may not look the way we thought it was going to look.
Not at all.
But the way that it ended and where we're at right now, and this will probably change.
This will change.
Right? Like this set's not going to be forever.
Nope.
Right, the way we do this probably won't be forever.
Be the same, no.
Right, like I know that we're looking at some other avenues of bringing guests on, and we're gonna do some more things with this show. So it's like we're still falling in under that leadership, and at times it was it was a process.
Yeah,
right. It was a difficult process because we had to learn. Basically how someone else thinks, how someone else sees the world, right? How someone else sees business, how someone else sees life, and sees the Bible, right? It's like walking with that person and then going, okay, I have to align myself here,
right?
And then follow in line with that, and then be able to push that as well. Right? Like that. Yeah. That's a hard thing to do.
Push it. Yeah.
When you're like learning it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I think the first year was so difficult for us to get off the ground was that we were all just trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Like what's going on? We're not trying to throw Lance under the bus. But figuring out Lance is a difficult thing. But that as the leader, like it's like once you figure him out, right? Then we're able to come alongside him, push it, you know what I mean? And push the things that he's desiring. 100%.
And like the thing too is like I never felt comfortable really to go all out in like the business side for me, like outside of here until things got settled here. Like I wanted to make sure things got taken care of here. And here's what's even funnier. So we build this new studio, and it was all around what we felt like would be good for him.
Right.
Which was we put notes up, we had all this stuff,
man,
right?
It was hilarious.
And the thing is we built around what was the current, I guess, thing that we were trying to help. So we felt like, okay, like how he communicates, things like that. Like it's gonna be good if he has a TV, if he has notes, things like that. Well, we found out down the road though that sometimes for him, he was not addicted to notes, but he couldn't break.
Right.
Like if it was in the notes, he had to go to it. So like it was one of those things of we built kind of like a crutch.
Right.
And so like what we realized is like, okay, the vision of all of this, how we're wanting to accomplish this, we got to accomplish it differently now.
Yeah.
So then we slowly started to like limit things. Like we changed the way, because like people really don't know, but y'all used to write like 6 pages of notes per episode
per person.
Person.
It was there was, and like the way this is set up is so comfortable. It was like business, man. We were like sitting at a desk, TVs and monitors everywhere. And then it was like we're paying not so much attention to the audience, right? We're paying attention to our notes and trying to get exactly what we want to say out there. And it was
like a teaching almost.
And it was more of that kind of a show. And now it's like I feel like we're doing more teaching. I feel like we're doing more of the things that we wanted to do with less of the
structure, I guess you could say.
And it's like because our hearts are finally coming out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think like, and that's really what Lance is about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As much as he hides behind this like exterior, it's like inside of him is he wants his heart to be seen and to be heard and his heart for God to come forward.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing now is like, man, we have a heart for this in people's lives. We want to see people grow. We want to see people learning.
Yeah.
And like you're starting to see, like we're getting comments, we're getting people telling us, man, what you guys are talking about is helping me change the way I think, helping me with my business. And so it's like we're doing exactly what we wanted to do. It just looks different. The vision's still the same.
Yeah.
It's literally still the same. We haven't changed that.
No.
And the mission of Cultural Architects is still the same. It just looks completely different.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like now, so I'm traveling a little bit with different things, and what that's done is now is like I feel like okay to do that,
right?
Because things are running so well here. I come in on Monday, come in on Tuesday, we film, and then we're done for the week in terms of filming. Whereas before, all right, we film on Monday, we film on Tuesday, we film on Wednesday, we film on Thursday. It was like, I mean, and that's what we would do. We would film all this stuff on 1 week,
right?
And it was just like, it was. I mean, it was rough,
right?
Like when you look back at how much we would film, and it's like we were putting out. Probably we put out more stuff now.
The other, we do put way more stuff. We're on 4 different shows, 5 to come. Very soon. And then you look at we were always like so many episodes ahead.
Yeah.
And that might have been our biggest downfall because we weren't current.
No.
We were always so far ahead of what, like it was trying to remember what the next episode was. And now it's like we're not far ahead. We're enough ahead to like we can pull back, we can move things, we can we don't date things the way we used to.
The other thing that I found too is I was trying to understand it, but I finally put words to it. But like you guys would film 6 episodes, right? So you sit here and you film 6 episodes, and they would be really good, right? And then we would have 2 more in the chamber that were coming, so we'd be 8 ahead. And the next 2 would come out. And I'm not saying it was a demoralizer, but you guys like improved in those 6 episodes from where you guys were in the previous 2.
Right.
So then the next 2 weeks is, you can call it old content to you guys. And you look at it, you're like, oh, well, I didn't say this right. Or I didn't communicate. And it's like, so now you have to wait 6 weeks or really 8 to see the change.
Right.
So it was like, man, like it is demoralizing to be like, man, like we just changed it now people have got to wait 8 episodes
to see the
change.
Yes.
Because I remember, there was a time, it was probably 6 months ago, but when we were like 7 months ago, we were like, okay, hey, stop looking at the notes. Like y'all can put notes, but stop looking. So then we made that change and it felt so much better.
Oh yeah.
But then there were 4 more episodes of the previous.
Right. And
so then
you're watching back and go, stop looking at the notes.
Yeah.
It was so
we
funny.
Would improve.
Yes.
And then we would have to wait.
Yeah.
And so I think that was another thing where we were just like, man, like this is rough. So, it's like, it's working through those things because, like you said, and I'll just reiterate, is like, we never changed the vision or the back end. It was just, we were changing how we were accomplishing it.
Right.
And like, that's the thing is like, we had to build this stuff.
Right.
And so now, like, I look at it and I'm like, man, like I can come in, we all know what's going on. And like, yeah, we're having different conversations and changing different things. But the cool thing is now we knew like, okay, well, we, Lance loved to teach. Lance loves to like do that. So, okay, well, let's move that to a different location.
Right.
So it's like, okay, let's have more casual conversations. Let's build an environment. So what's funny is we had someone visit the studio last week. They sat in the chair and they were like, I feel comfortable. Like, I feel like
it's like funniest thing.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. And that's what I've said from the first time I sat here too, is like, this is like, you just want to sit and talk.
Yes.
Right. And it just brings conversation.
Yeah.
And so like, it's like, there's cameras here, but like, you don't feel the cameras, you don't feel the lights. You feel like, hey, this is just a normal conversation. And hopefully that comes across to the viewer.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what's fun to me is to really be able to be like, hey, you know what? When we started this thing, we learned our leader, right?
Yeah.
And that's super necessary to learn your leader, figure out their vision, their passion, and whatever. Once you learn that, then you're able to grow from that, right? It may not look like they thought it was going to look or you thought it was going to look, but as long as you keep with that vision, keep with that mission, and it'll come out to like where we're at today. And then you can do the things like that you're most passionate about as well. And I think that's what you kind of alluding to. It's like, you're not always doing the thing that, sitting under somebody. Like, yeah, it's theirs, right?
Yeah.
But there's other passions that I have that I'm getting super involved in now.
Yeah.
Your passions are outside of here are growing, and it's like, but we had to learn under here to be able to follow the leader, right? So to speak, to then branch off from that and grow into where we are today. And it was basically a year and a half process of all that to where we are today.
Yep.
And it's like, man, you can see the growth, you can see everything happening, but you can also still see the vision of Lance and what he wants this place to be. So when you're in a second chair, third chair, whatever it is in leadership, and following the person in front of you and following their vision for what they want, it's super important to do that, to gain that knowledge. And then once you've figured it out and gotten to a place of excellence, a place of where you're comfortable, then you can start doing other things.
Right.
And it doesn't limit your scope.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, I think we had a good episode. So
that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, we went a little different ways, but it was really good.
Yeah, I feel it was good. So all right, well, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.